watching me, they all they speed away. When I step out the door, they take my pics and videos galore. Drones are buzzing high above my place, yet none appear online to show their face. No one sees my mark making the ground, just silent lights without a sound. It's like Christmas up in the sky, lights of every color shining bright. They flock to watch me every night, hoping for a glimpse or a fight. I run so fast they can't keep up. They chase me through the wasty flush. Every night it's all the same. Do they even know my name? It's like Christmas up in the sky, lights of every color shining bright. They flock to watch me every night, hoping for a glimpse or a fight. In my mind the drones are friends, red and white and blue they blend, watching out to keep me safe. But who's behind this endless chase? It's like Christmas in the sky, lights of every color blending bright. They flock to watch me every night, hoping for a glimpse of fight.
Oh wow, I've just been talking to myself non-stop for the last however many minutes. I'll have to edit that out when after this is processed. Okay, well, I was saying thank you everyone for coming in and apologising for the late notice, as in no notice whatsoever, complete pop-up live stream. Bit of a late night last night. I did a Gus Lamont live stream last night, which ended up being, I think, 2.5 hours long. So it ended up being a very, very late night for me. Didn't crawl out of bed till really, really late this morning. Partly just because I'm just really tired at the moment, but also because it's cold. When it's cold like this, I always struggle to get out of bed early. So I wasn't going to do a live stream. I kind of thought, well, it's too late to do a live stream. But then I just went, oh, well, what the heck? I'll go live. If anyone's still awake over on the other side of the world and they want to join me, that's fantastic. If not, well, I can sit and talk to myself. But thankfully, I have got people in the chat. So thank you very much, everyone who's here. Good to see everyone. I haven't told any mods that I'm going live. So, oops, sorry, last minute thing, basically just thinking, okay, I'm going to go live. Got everything organised and hit the go live button. So I possibly should have at least sent Bonza a text message saying, hey, guess what, I'm going live. But I think between us we can wangle this. I can always moderate for myself. So yeah, what the heck. So if you're not familiar with Gus's case, this is Gus Lamont in front of you, and I did a rather lengthy live stream last night, I think 2.5 hours, where I went through the interview that his grandmother Josie did with one of our Australian networks. I suspect that the original interview possibly isn't available overseas. I know sometimes that happens. I was half expecting to get some sort of copyright claim on that live stream because Channel 7 are mongrels like that. Something preventing it from showing in other countries. But touch wood, that hasn't happened. So if you haven't caught my Gus Lamont live stream, it's interesting if you've been following the case, especially if you're wondering where his grandmother Josie fits into all this, because I saw a lot of red flags in that interview. I went into it thinking, okay, I'm going to be very, very open-minded. I'm not going to make any judgments. I came out of it thinking, I can't see how she's not part of all this. So that was the Gus thing. If you haven't caught it, please do. I also did, if you're into all the sort of the forensics and the background stuff, I dropped a video about canines, the various roles that dogs do in law enforcement, border patrol, things like that. So there's also that if you missed that, because I know that YouTube isn't necessarily putting out all the notifications that it should be putting out. Yeah. Anyway, so back to Lily and Jack. Want to get back to this Daniel interview, and the thumbnail might be just a little bit deceiving because it's got, well, for Lily and Jack. It's me taking the Mickey out of Daniel, because a lot of what we hear in this part of his conversation with Charmaine is about it all being about Lily and Jack, and that seems to be his latest thing. He's listened to what everyone is saying about the case. He's taken on board the fact that everyone keeps saying, you know, this is meant to be about Lily and Jack, and that's become his new mantra. Unfortunately, it's kind of a very hollow mantra because, well, come on. I mean, 13 months of talking about Daniel. Yeah, the Gus Lamont case is a little boy in South Australia here who went missing in September of last year. And again, absolutely no sign of him. Police are saying, no, it wasn't an abduction, not possible. They found a boot print. Always seems to be these boot prints that they found. And one of the things that grabbed me last night going through this interview was the grandmother going, and they haven't found any evidence. Not a hat, not a boot. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, it's like these people go from the same script. So definitely worth watching the interview. I would be very interested to hear the thoughts of people who aren't familiar with the case, to hear your thoughts on what you think about her in terms of what she's saying, in terms of body language and stuff. Sorry, just losing my voice. My thoughts are that she seems to be better at masking than Daniel. There were some tells in terms of her body language, and maybe it's just because I've watched Daniel so much that I know every little quirk of his inside out and back to front. But I certainly found I would have had to have gone through that interview slowly on my own to have picked up all the little tells here and there. And it might be something that I go back over and do a few shorter videos on, but it was certainly a harder read, put it that way. I don't know if there's much more I need to add on before I jump in. If you haven't caught up on my Mackenzie Sharilla stuff, that's another case that I'm jumping into knee deep. I've been releasing some of the jail phone calls, and I've started doing her an assessment of her father's interview. It's a lengthy interview that he did somewhere, and I've been doing a kind of, you know, deep dive into that. I've done so far one thing on that, and I will be hoping to get onto another one of those today. doozy of a case. Definitely worth checking out. I'll be hopefully soon doing some comparisons between Mackenzie and Sarah Grace. That's the girl who shot her parents. Because I think in terms of the narcissism from both of them, there are some huge, huge similarities. Anyway, let's get on with Daniel. I think hopefully I did edit this video out to where I left off the other day. I think I've done a little bit of a backtrack. Oh, yeah. They all call her Kenzie, and it does sound like she's doing fine in jail. It sounds like she thinks she's in high school. Welcome in, Karen. Good to see you here. There's a lot of things that, like, I'm still watching a lot of stuff about her while I'm doing my own research. And she really does sound like she's set herself up quite well, including things like selling jewellery to other inmates, which is totally against the rules. And basically the deal with that is that if they want to buy jewellery off her, then they have to get someone to deposit money into a Venmo or something, and then her mother lets her know when the money's in, and then she hands over the jewellery. So her mother is part of this scam that she's running in jail, which is unbelievable. But yeah, she's a doozy. We've got Sarah Grace Patrick's trial is coming up in a bit over a month, and I think that's going to be interesting to watch, and I definitely want to do some comparisons between the two girls. Anyway, let's get back to Lily and Jack and what Daniel has to say, because, you know, Daniel considers himself their spokesperson.
Like, I never went onto Bradley's property. I never took his kids' sweaters or whatever they were. I don't know anything about the bath mat, and you know, I brought this to investigators, and they said, like, you know, as they usually do, Daniel, it's all bullshit. We know it wasn't you. We know you're not doing that shit. Like, sorry for my language, but we know you don't. Like, we know you're not doing that. Like, and it would be foolish for us to even entertain it.
I know that was just a replay, but I just wanted to backtrack over that bit, because that bit to me was one of the really significant bits, and I did do a video on it. He's basically doing the, you know, I didn't have anything to do with it, and you know, they know I didn't have anything to do with it. And, like, as if they're going to reassure him like that. They're not going to say anything. But his whole point, I did a video the other day where I pointed out that he's making this denial in terms of Bradley's stuff that was found, talking about how, you know, RCMP have reassured him and saying, yeah, you know, that's why they don't want it, because it's got nothing to do with me. Shot himself in the foot completely. Yeah, Daniel and law enforcement are such buddies. They're best buddies, you know. If he could, he'd go out drinking with them on a Friday night. But, you know, he can't because he hasn't got a car. He's just so full of it, and he thinks people believe this. He's been doing this from day one. It's just unreal. Okay, so now we get into catching up. Yeah, BS isn't swearing. I say that. I use a lot of abbreviations when I'm live, BS being one of them, so no, it's all good. Okay.
That's why the RCMP didn't want any of that as evidence, because they just see the absolute bullshit. Sorry for my language again. the absolute bullshit that surrounds a lot of this case. And there's been so many people that came out and talked, and it's provided no clarity or anything. It's almost like this investigation went from Lily and Jack to that's attack the people that were on the property.
He just doesn't get it, does he? Like, and yeah, I apologize. First sunny day in ages, so someone's outside with the mower making a lot of noise. He doesn't realize that looking at the people on the property is because they are the only people who could possibly know what happened to Lily and Jack. It's damn clear now. I mean, law enforcement have pretty much laid it out. They have just stopped short of saying these people are suspects. You know, at the end of the day, the children didn't wander off into the woods. They weren't abducted. So, yes, Daniel, we are all looking at everyone who was on the property because that is the only logical conclusion that we can come to. Like, well, let's attack the people on the property. No, Daniel, it's not an attack. It's people going, look at your inconsistencies, look at your lies. When I was editing the one that he did with Sunny, the level of BS that was coming out of his mouth was just unreal, absolutely unreal. Welcome in, Blue Bears. Good to see you in here. He's gone to new extremes. Absolute new extremes. And he thinks people actually believe him. Like, seriously. I mean, I know Sunny was really nice with him when he was on her channel. But I'm sure Sunny was not believing all the crap that he was coming out with. And this whole thing, how long have him and Janie been talking about, oh, it's an attack on us? All they want to do is attack us. No, all we want to do is get justice for Lily and Jack and point out the lies and the irregularities and just try and figure out what might have actually happened. And I know it's not our job to figure out what happened, but it's that curious nature that we just want to know. We're heading for 14 months and we want answers. So, sorry, Daniel, we are going to focus on you, and we are going to continue to focus on you and Malaya and Janie up until when arrests are made. And then we probably will still focus on you, Malaya and Janie.
Now I want to bring it back to, let's make it about Lily and Jack. It's been a year. Let's concentrate on what the main goal was from the start.
So this is what I was saying before I started playing this. His conspiracy that someone knew he was in bed and his whole schedule because they are spying on him is hilarious. I know. Like, for real, get a life, Daniel. Sorry, that was a bit... You can tell I'm a little bit tired this morning. He's listened so much to other content creators. And the funny thing is, he was saying to Sunny, oh, I don't listen. Welcome in, Violet. It was the last minute live. I didn't give anyone any notice. He's telling Sunny that he doesn't actually watch any of the YouTube channels. Oh, his mum does, but he doesn't. He doesn't pay attention to it. But when you hear the crap that comes out of his mouth, he really is so special. So true, Jeannie. The crap that comes out of his mouth is regurgitating things that are being said by other channels, but not for the same motivation. So a lot of people lately have been saying we need to be here for Lily and Jack. We need to just get beyond all the other BS that's going on and, forget about these add-ons like Anita, who's got nothing worthwhile to add because it's just made up stories. And he's using that to his advantage. Now it's like, oh, well, let's make it about Lily and Jack, that's what it was from the start. Basically, it's like, stop looking at me, just talk about Lily and Jack. I think he does watch every single YouTube creator. Oh, the yes, Milky Way girl. I don't want to tell people where I sleep. Like, hello. I think people could figure it out pretty damn quickly. And do you think someone's going to rock up with a sniper rifle? Like, the guy's delusional. He thinks he's got, 40, 50 drones protecting him. He thinks he can't tell people where he sleeps because someone might come after him in the night. You're not that important, Daniel. You're really not. Like, seriously. But this whole, let's make it about Lily and Jack. And, it's been a year, let's concentrate on the main goal. Yet the main goal is justice for Lily and Jack, Daniel. Which means focusing on you, focusing on Janie, and focusing on Malaya. And unfortunately for you, Daniel, Malaya never speaks, and you never shut up. So that's why we focus on you so much. If you didn't want people to pay attention to what you say, don't say it.
And I think like a lot of people would agree with me on that the entertainment and drama needs to come to a halt, and Lily and Jack, be found, and we push for answers, and we all come together as one for Lily and Jack.
He's really having trouble spitting that out. Yeah, Ariel, he probably heard that case. You're probably spot on. There was a case where someone was shot through a bedroom wall, and he's probably heard that. Nailed it in one. He better stop entertaining us. That's the thing, Daniel. When you start talking about your 40, 50 drones that are watching over you, and they're flashing like it's Christmas, and you wonder why people are entertained by you. But he's really struggling to push out in terms of Lily and Jack need to be found and pushing for answers. Because he doesn't want Lily and Jack to be found, in my opinion. Because I truly believe he's the person responsible for putting them wherever they are. Or he's the person responsible for giving them to someone else to put them where they are. But he doesn't want Lily and Jack to be found. And in terms of pushing for answers, he doesn't want real answers. He wants people to settle on one of the theories that's been, or one of the narratives that's been pushed out there for the last 13 months. He is such a drama queen. Flashing red and blue light. Yeah, trying to sleep with 50 drones in your face. Well, that's probably his problem. I guess when you're that tweaked out and you think there's 20, 50 drones in your face, you probably can't sleep. Perhaps he's preparing for a not criminally responsible insanity plea. Yeah, that's not going to fly, Daniel. You can try, but it's not going to fly. He's going to struggle with any sort of defense in this case. I think all three of them are. But Daniel especially, because there's so much evidence of his knowledge that he needs to cover up. I mean, we've got hours and hours and hours of audio now of Daniel, and all these screenshots of text messages that he's made and comments in chats and people's videos. Like, a prosecution lawyer will just be rubbing their hands over just how much material that he's given them. Oh, yeah, and the way he's trying to educate us on autism and ADHD, because he really doesn't understand either. He knows nothing. It's like with the dog video that I put out. He clearly gets it in his head that he wants to research something. And he goes and he'll probably read, I don't know if he just reads the AI bit, which is often far from accurate, or whether he just goes and finds one article and reads it. And then he thinks he understands it and he thinks he knows it, and he's like way off. Way, way off. Anyway, he's not doing himself any favors, that's for sure.
I mean, but I can't just say all come together as one, because I don't want anything to do with Malaya. So I will never join forces with her or Cheryl or Angeline or any of these individuals, Cindy. It's, just so many allegations against me and, shit said. I'll never join forces with them. But when it comes to me, I'll always seek answers for Lily and Jack. And that's why I do these interviews.
That's not why you do these interviews, Daniel. You do these interviews to try and control the narrative and try and convince people that you are innocent. Yeah, saying that when he does math, that because he's got ADHD, it affects him like, more like cannabis. No, Daniel, it doesn't. I said this ages ago. It's actually a different drug to what is given to people for ADHD, for starters. It's kind of like a cousin of ADHD medications. But it doesn't affect people in a different way. Yeah, sure, if it was slow release, it might help. But what happens is you get that massive hit, which is not controlled, so you still have the same reactions. And then you just come down off it. It doesn't, it's not like taking ADHD meds at all. I mean, I don't know, because all I've ever had my entire life is weed. And that's all I've ever been interested in. I don't even bother with that anymore because it never used to do anything for me. But, it does not. You do your research and you find out it does not work that way. He's just full of crap. Well, welcome in, Grover. It's okay to be late because I was really late. I only started this about half an hour ago because I hadn't even planned on doing a live stream. I didn't wake up till nearly 10 o'clock and I thought, well, that's too late. And then I was like, well, I just need to jump in. So I just jumped in anyway to do a live. Now, he's saying here, he's trying to do this whole thing of, we should all come together for the sake of Lily and Jack. Welcome in, Mike. Now, again, he's parroting other channels, or parroting people who've made comments of why are these channels, trying to crap all over each other? Shouldn't they be working for the same goal or something like that? So he's doing this. We should all come together for Lily and Jack. He's like, but not me. I'm not going to cooperate with Malaya or anyone connected to her. He's like, so, even though I'm saying we should all come together for Lily and Jack and they should come first, what I'm going to say here is I'm going to put myself first because I want to put my needs first here and not talk with Malaya or her family or anyone like that. Like, he's so full of crap. Can any Canadians confirm, is it normal for Child Protective Services to intervene for an autism test? No, they will not do that. They don't have the time for something like that. That is something that is organised through a school. Their whole purpose of intervention is welfare. So abuse or neglect, that's the only time that they are going to do house calls. That's the only time they're going to connect, is if there is enough substance to any claims that might support the possibility that a child is being abused or neglected. They're not going to just rock up at your property and say, hey, someone said they think your kid's autistic, so here's a list of services that you can access. Not going to happen. I would imagine maybe that's something that got raised in the discussion. And I don't know if it's something that was brought up by the school to Daniel or to Malaya, and then when CPS turned up, they decided, let's use this as an excuse. Yeah, it seems, yeah, it's the same in Australia too. Like, I think most places you go, any sort of referrals like that happen through the school. The teachers will refer it on to, if they have a school psychologist, they'll refer it on to the school psychologist. If not, they'll probably refer it to the social worker, or they might just talk to the parents about it and say, have you considered going to your GP and having a discussion with them over this and getting a referral? Welcome in, Mr. Hemi. Good to see you here. So, Daniel and this BS about CPS turning up just to give them support, it's pure BS. That is all it is. Yes, 1000% ironclad. But, going back to Daniel and this, we should all come together, but not me. It kind of makes this whole statement really hollow. I don't want anything to do with Malaya shows us exactly where things have gotten between them. And I think we know where the resentment comes from, because I think even though there's like a clause with his case, the one that's coming up next month, we can put two and two together. We know who is behind the charges that are up that Daniel's facing, in my opinion. So I can understand there's a lot of resentment there from him. But again, if he really cared about Lily and Jack, if this was really about Lily and Jack, then both him and Malaya should be prepared to put aside their differences and fight for them. But they're not. They're too busy. They're fighting for themselves. That's all it is. Both of them have no intention of prioritising Lily and Jack because they know what happened to Lily and Jack. And they know that Lily and Jack aren't coming back. So instead they prioritise themselves and saving their own asses.
Interviews aren't for me, because I know I'm going to get attacked over this interview. I know I'm going to get attacked. I fully am aware of that. Every interview I got attacked, but I still continue to push through and do it because I know it was the right thing to do, and I know no one else will do it other than Belinda will do it. But Belinda's not part of the investigation, so she has a limited amount that she can display to the public or tell the public because she just doesn't know.
I wondered how long it would take him to find a way to get around the whole thing of, well, it's only me and Belinda, because he wants people to believe that he's the only person speaking out for Lily and Jack. He seems to have not noticed that there still are a handful of YouTube channels who speak out for Lily and Jack on a daily basis, or close to a daily basis. And he seems to have not noticed that Belinda is present every single day for Lily and Jack, that Chelsea is present every single day for Lily and Jack. Yes, they might not be in all the Facebook groups, they might not be popping up in chats very often, and I don't blame them, because there comes a point when people have just been so nasty that you want to do it from a bit of a distance. But Belinda still posts on her own Facebook all the time. She still makes herself available to answer any questions that content creators have. Same with Chelsea, she's still there right behind Belinda for Lily and Jack, and she's still willing to answer questions that need to be answered. But Daniel doesn't like that. So he has to find a way of making it about him again. So now it's like, yeah, no one else will do it other than Belinda. But see, Belinda's not part of the investigation, so she can't tell you all the things I can tell you. So that makes me even more important. Well, Daniel, 95% of what you tell us is BS. So I would rather hear from Belinda any day. He is so defensive. This is all about Daniel. It's got nothing to do with Lily and Jack. And I think, he keeps saying, he's so grateful for Belinda, and he keeps bringing up Belinda in these instances. But he's doing so because it just really annoys the crap out of him that people support Belinda and that he can't get that same sort of support because people see through his lies. So what does he have to do? Do the gaslighting. Well, I'm glad that Belinda's out here, but she doesn't know anything. Yeah. It's not just the way Belinda's been lied to lately, it's the way she's been treated lately. Just the horrible things that people have said and done. And when I hear someone telling me that a content creator has blocked Chelsea on their channel, like, get out of here. Who does that sort of thing? Yeah, the whole him saying that he supports Belinda getting custody, it is so fake. He's working the crowd. He knows, unlike some idiots who put out content, he knows that people support Belinda. He knows that if he says anything against her, that people are going to jump to her defense and he'll be the bad guy. So he has to jump on board and follow what the public is saying so that he can get public support for him. He has to play the nice guy, which means has to be supportive of Belinda, or at least appear to be on the surface. But at the end of the day, Daniel's only in it for himself. Daniel hates the fact that Belinda comes out and says it how it is. He doesn't like when she comes out and says at the end of the day that she holds the 3 people that were on the property responsible. But he's going to pretend that he doesn't really feel any worries about that because he knows that he can't say anything negative about Belinda because it'll come back and bite him on the ass. So, none of this about Belinda is genuine, which is sad. I think it upsets me that none of these people can actually acknowledge genuinely the fight that Belinda's been doing for the last 13 months. But of course they won't, because she's fighting for Lily and Jack and they're fighting for themselves. So they're on opposite sides. Yes, he does love to give unsolicited 2-bit explanations of things he has no clue about. 100%.
But I do like that she raises awareness. We don't see eye to eye, but she still has a big heart and she's fighting for Lily and Jack because no one else is.
Yeah, she has a big heart. We don't see eye to eye, but she has a big heart. And, she's fighting for Lily and Jack because no one else is. Bit of leakage there, Daniel. You've just admitted that you're not fighting for Lily and Jack. You're fighting for Daniel. Yeah, that's one of the things that is so cruel. The fact that because of Daniel, Belinda didn't get access to her grandchildren for 2 years. And now he's trying to act like he's all pro Belinda, and it's just bull crap. It's all about him. Daniel said it best. He would weaponize Malaya's words against her. Which, yeah, exactly. That leaves a person to believe that what he did to the kids, he could weaponize against her. That shows to me that the reason Malaya keeps quiet is because she is implicated in this somehow. Yeah, Daniel really is a goof. He has this idea in his head that people actually believe this crap. And maybe it's because he's gotten away with it for so long. So long. And I think this is something that he's really struggled with. Because, in his relationships with various women, he chooses women that he can control. He chooses women that are going to believe his BS, that are going to fall for the gaslighting. So, after Lily and Jack went missing, all of a sudden, he's out on the world stage and he thought that all those strategies that he's used with past girlfriends or his wife or whatever, he thought that those strategies would work with everyone, and it didn't. So all of a sudden, he's out here, and content creators and subscribers to content creators and people on Facebook are saying, look what this guy is doing. He's lying, he's gaslighting, he's changing his story to fit what people say. And that's been really confronting for him because he's never had that happen before. Yes, Daniel is an absolute Nimrod. 100%. I just look forward to the day when we get some justice for Lily and Jack.
Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their day to actually sit down and listen. And I know not everybody will be here for the live, but the video lives on after this, so everybody can come back and watch it and not just get a view for who I am, but get a view for what Lily and Jack enjoyed or enjoys. I know
So this is, and I actually have the next lot of audio from when he went on Charmaine straight after. But this is like heading towards the end of the video, doing the, oh, thank you so much to all my fans. And he's like, I know everyone's going to watch this. I know that not everyone's watching it now, but I know people are going to come back and watch it. And then it's all about him. Priorities. He knows people are going to watch it later just to get a view for who he is. So that's what he comes up with first. And then a view for what Lily and Jack enjoyed or enjoys. So straight up, he's like, in his mind, this has all been about creating a picture of who he is. Who he wants people to perceive he is, I should say. And he's made that really clear by making that the number one thing. He hopes people watch this so they believe his BS and believe he's the person that he wants them to believe. And then he remembers Lily and Jack. But again, it's not about trying to find answers or trying to, get justice for them. It's about to get a view for what Lily and Jack enjoyed. Good to see you in here, Deborah. Oh, look, his ego that's all it is. This is a major PR campaign. Just like Cheryl and Malaya. They're all doing their own little PR in their own ways. And the problem is, if you're not genuine about it, people see through it. Yeah, he thinks this is so true, Carol. He's doing this to try and stack the jury up for his coming trial. I can assure you, though, if a jury hears this, and they won't hear all of this stuff, but when they hear some of this stuff, they're just going to be like, we don't need to finish this trial. Can we just go and vote on this now? It is. It's a PR campaign. He's being his own spin doctor. Vote for me. And that's what Amira thinks about it. She's not impressed. He really doesn't know how to read the room. Not at all.
tense again and get a view on the case. I don't know where the case is headed. Unfortunately, that's something I can't answer.
Yeah, he would love to know where the case is headed. I don't know where the case is headed, but unfortunately that's something I can't answer. He would dearly love to answer that because he wants to know what's coming down his way. Oh, yeah, look, Karen, when this goes to trial, you can bet they are going to go through every potential juror with a fine-tooth comb. Because there'll be a lot of people that won't be able to be on a jury. You can guarantee that the closest that this will be in terms of locations will be Halifax, because there's no way they could try this in Pictou County. Just for starters, they would have to take it to Halifax. It is going to be hard to find an impartial jury, but I tell you what, they're going to make sure that they do. Maybe Daniel should ask for a bench trial. Won't go his way, but, you know, solve that problem. Sorry.
I could, but I tried to keep the public informed as much as possible. And I know the time I was gone, there wasn't much of anything said. There was no real statements put out by the RCMP. And I just want everybody to know that, you know, I'm always doing my best and staying strong for Lily and Jack. And
Oh, okay. So once it escalates to Supreme Court, it has to go to Halifax anyway, does it? Cool. I haven't looked at what the different tiers are like in terms of what courts are where in Nova Scotia, but that makes sense that it would go to the Supreme Court, which also makes sense that that would be in Halifax. Yes, I get a distinct impression that nobody in Pictou County liked him other than his buddies. It seems like his uncles, many of his uncles, didn't even like him. Does anyone know what punishment jail time he's facing if convicted? I haven't actually looked into that yet, but for his other charges, they are up 20 years or more. I think I calculated for his other charges, if he gets convicted of them, then that's potentially up to 24 years that he can be locked away for the other charges. The SA, the confinement, all that sort of stuff. So if he gets convicted over whatever happened to Lily and Jack, then he has to serve out that first sentence first if that ends up coming down. Meaning that there's a good chance that he will never, ever walk out of jail. Because with these charges that he's facing now, because they are completely separate from Lily and Jack's case, that if he is convicted over Lily and Jack's disappearance, it won't be a concurrent sentence. It'll be consecutive. So, and maybe that's part of what's going on here with this case, with the case that's in the courts. Maybe they are concerned that he might not get as good a sentence as they would like. Maybe in terms of evidence, they're thinking it could be brought down to involuntary manslaughter or something like that. I would like to see 2 life sentences. And I'll be sorry, Bonza, should have messaged you and said that I was doing a last-minute live stream. I kind of, it was about 5 minutes beforehand, and I went, "Hey, I'm gonna go live." So I just jumped in and did it and thought, well, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got Moscato in the fridge. I'm not much of a drinker, and that's been sitting there for ages, so I will save the bottom of the bottle there for a toast for the day. Do I think Janie's brothers would stand idly by if she's brought in? That's a really good question. I don't know, because I get the impression that they really don't like Daniel. I don't think anybody likes Daniel. Welcome in, Dodie. So they're certainly not going to be in favour of Daniel if Janie gets brought in. I think that when it comes to a point of making arrests, I wouldn't be surprised if Janie is offered some sort of deal, simply because of her health, because of her age. I wouldn't be surprised if prosecutors try to offer her a deal instead of prosecution. You tell us what you know. Let your kid go to jail because he's a low life. Let Malaya go to jail because she let her kids down. As to whether her brothers, yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. Oh, they sent Peter Nygaard to jail at the age of 83. Cool. Yeah, Janie's 60. I know this isn't Canada, but after the case with Paul Flores and Ruben Flores, when the jury didn't convict Ruben Flores, and that was a shock to so many people, I've kind of lost a bit of faith in the possibility of seniors facing the justice that they should be facing. So after that, I always think, there's a possibility when you have someone with, health issues, etc., like Janie, it worries me that she might get off. I'm not sure who Peter Nygaard is. I actually hadn't heard of him. So if anyone can actually bring us up to speed and let us know. Now, I will say, recently there's been a lot of cold cases that have been solved where they've basically hauled in old men that are in their 70s, 80s, whatever, and arrested them. Oh, so Nygaard is like Canada's Jeffrey Epstein. Right. Cool. Yeah, it doesn't seem like Daniel has a good relation at all with his father, that's for sure. It seems like a lot of the men in the family see Daniel for what he is and don't like him. Yes, Janie could well be charged with accessory after the fact. I think the reason that there's so much leakage from Janie is that there is this internal struggle. I think she recognizes that Daniel is a little shit who, should have been put in a box long ago. That didn't come out the right way. I didn't mean that, but I think Janie is torn because she knows that what happened was wrong, but she's always going to protect her sons. Yeah, Bonza, it is killing her defending him. I think that's the thing. I don't think Janie is a bad person. I just think she is someone who it is her instinct to put her sons above everything else. And she's now got herself in a situation that she can't get out of either. Because it's been nearly 14 months. So, in a way, like, on one hand, I don't have sympathy because she's standing between justice and between that and them not being found. But on the other hand, you can see the struggle there. And the sad thing is that she misses out on seeing her grandchildren because she has this strong, deep urge to protect her children, to protect Daniel and to protect Justin. And I don't know if Justin had anything to do with this. But because she has this desperate, she can't help herself, she has to defend Daniel. And because of that, she's lost access to her grandchildren. And I said this long ago, I truly feel that the only chance that Janie has of ever having a relationship with her grandchildren again is if she does speak up to the RCMP and basically say, look, this is killing me to say this, but I have to dob my son in because I want to be able to have a future with my grandchildren. Yeah, she can't even get a lawyer. And that's the other thing that I don't think she realizes. She's not someone with money behind her to pay for a fancy lawyer if she does get arrested for her role in this. If Janie gets arrested for this, she's going to get legal aid, which means that she's not necessarily going to end up with a good lawyer, meaning it's going to make it really hard for her to fight any charges. So, she's not helping herself. Not helping herself at all. Did I hear Justin Smith lawyered up? I haven't heard anything, and I'm kind of, I think there's some sort of motivation for people on Malaya's side to be putting out stories about Justin Smith right now. So I'm choosing to ignore whatever's being said because I think it's just more manipulation. Hi Joyce, it's good to see you in here. So in terms of, as soon as something comes out from Daniel's side or Malaya's side that's talking about somebody, like Justin, for example, I just ignore it now because it's all about manipulating public perception. It's all about deflection, in my opinion. Like, don't look at us, look over here now. It's like when the documents first came out and people were reading about the witnesses seeing the vehicles. And all of a sudden, we're talking about Brad Wong's past history from who knows how long back. And yet the guy is now married, he's got children, and that's my mic dying. So I'm going to play some audio.
I'm a math man, yeah, I count cans, live in a trailer with rusted pants. Mom's dog's bald, it's got no flair, lost all its hair, and it don't care. Pink blankets, lies I've told again, footprints vanish like phantom friends. I'm Superman, Daniel, faster than wind, stronger than a chopper with a rotor spin. I rake my driveway while Mom shakes her fist. Super Daniel, yeah, I can't be missed.
I like this one better, I think.
Not allowed on Mama's ATV. She says I drive it recklessly. X wrote her name on my mirror in red. Now I'm searching cold, it's like I lost my head. Dirt roads, rivers, waist high deep. Virginia slims, I puff and leap. I'm Superman, Daniel, faster than wind, stronger than a chopper when the rotors spin. I rake my driveway while Mom shakes her fist. Super Daniel, yeah, I can't be missed. No out on Mama's ATV. She says I drive it recklessly. X wrote her name on my mirror in red. Now I'm searching culverts like I lost my head. Dirt roads, rivers, waist high deep. Virginia slims, I puff and leap. I'm Superman, Daniel, arrogant and bold, strutting pop lines in the cold. Work one day a week at the sawmill grind. Super Daniel, yeah, I own my time. I'm Superman, Daniel, arrogant and bold, strutting pop lines in the cold. Work one day a week at the sawmill grind. Super Daniel, yeah, I own my time.
Even with me running through the woods over the head of the helicopters and head of the drones and stuff like that.
That's a good one.
I still think that's the best one. I thought Justin did an awesome job with that song. I think this is probably a good spot to finish it up. I know it's been a shorter live stream because I started later, but it's kind of getting on a bit, heading towards lunchtime here for me. And I think I've kind of lost the flow between the audio, between my mic crashing, and it's still not quite right. Okay, now I've got it. Hang on. Hopefully I can get my, sorry, hang on. Okay, so that's better. Sorry, I was having issues. Yeah, that's the black eye on Jack. That's the school photo that was shared by Lindsay, I think. It was shared by one of the journalists. They found it and they shared it in a news story. Yeah. Belinda, it wasn't fair to prevent Belinda access from the children, and I think it highlights how few rights grandparents have, because I think unless Belinda can get a really good pro bono lawyer with her guardianship case, it's going to be a struggle, because there isn't any sort of precedent and there isn't anything in Nova Scotia laws that would really help the case. So she would need a good lawyer who can demonstrate things really clearly as to, you know, how she can get the guardianship. So it's a tricky situation. I mean, at the end of the day, the irony is she seems to be the only person who's really, really fought for Lily and Jack. At the end of the day, you know, you could see every photo shows how much she loves those babies. Yeah, I would love to see her set a precedent. I haven't asked because it's her choice in terms of her privacy now with this case. But I would love if there was some really good pro bono lawyer out there who could take on this case and set a precedent. Because it would be a good precedent to set. This case is a really good example of what happens when grandparents are cut out from children's lives. Because you can bet, I think we all know Belinda well enough now that you can bet that if she'd have seen those children any time in those 2 years, and there was anything at all that gave her concerns, that she would have had something to say about it. Belinda's not backwards and coming forwards about anything. And, you know, she would have been that haven for Lily and Jack, the person who they knew loved them with no questions asked, you know. I mean, her other grandchildren are absolutely blessed to have a grandmother like that. Dodie, I'm not familiar with that case. Grandparents locking kids in cages in New Brunswick. Wow. I haven't heard about that. You don't hear a lot about Canadian cases. The focus, and I guess it's because of the larger audience, the focus is usually on American cases. You know, when I cover Australian cases, they never get as much following as if I'm covering any American cases. I think the exception to that would have been Phoebe's case, because that was a huge, huge case here in Australia, and it did get a huge following. So by the time that Bromley and Wood were arrested, there were a lot of people following my content. Well, you know, comparative. I'm certainly no Plunder True Crime. I'm not getting, like, you know, 21,000 views or something on my videos, but you just don't hear a lot. Even when you've got people like Sunny, who is Canadian, she still tends to focus more on American cases. Gola family, I'm writing these down. These are things that I'll need to look into. Gola family, and that's in Nova Scotia. Definitely some cases to look into. There's a Australian case that I'm kind of researching at the moment, and it's in the courts at the moment in a coronial inquest. Yeah, Karen, that's the problem. There's too much privacy in Canadian cases. That's the biggest struggle I've had with Lily and Jack's case, because with Maddie's case, especially being Florida and they've got their sunshine laws, the amount of FOIA materials available was absolutely phenomenal. You know, I never got around to uploading all the documents into my Patreon for Maddie's case because you'd put in a FOIA request and what you would get back would be huge. It would take me all day to download everything that I got back from FOIA requests with Maddie's case. And with the Mackenzie Sharilia case, I haven't even looked at a fraction of the things that I've got for her case because there's police cam stuff, there's records of interview, the documents that I've got, just so many, and I've just basically put them in a folder for now to get back to. But you don't get that with Canadian cases, and you don't get that with Australian cases either. There's a few Australian cases that I wanted to dig into, a few cold cases. But in terms of court files, yeah, sure, we've got that whole, you know, FOIA kind of thing going on, freedom of information, at a cost. So if I wanted to get any files from any courts in Australia on any cold cases, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. With Phoebe Bishop's case, I put in a request for transcripts and audio for the various appearances that Bromley and Wood had had, and this is before Kyle Mittenhauser was arrested. And the cost for me would have been absolutely insane. There's an awesome documentary online about the Gola family. I have to look that up. It really is. It's so much easier to cover cases when you can actually find out about the cases. And when they're not just this whole speculation, drama, people trying to control the narrative. Yeah, there's also that time frame. Some cases 50 years, up to 100 years before the info can be given. I really wanted to do a deep dive on, there's a case here in Victoria, and I can't remember which one it was. I wanted to do a deep dive on that, and that's a cold case that's well over 20-something years old. But the documents for that would have cost me more than I could afford. And the same thing with the case out of South Australia with 2 girls that went missing from the football match. That's back in 1973. Again, any of those sort of documents are just unavailable or really, really expensive. Yes, Daniel, Karen, you are so spot on. Daniel thinks the case is going to be lost or won on YouTube. Definitely. He seems to think that if he can convince people on YouTube that that's it, people are going to be like, okay, well, you know, all good. We don't look at Daniel. Let's let him live a happy life. He's a moron. He really is. Yeah, Wanda Beach is another one that interests me. There's so many really interesting Australian cases, but the problem is getting hold of any sort of documents. The other problem like I mentioned earlier, is some of Australia's mainstream media channels are absolutely mongrels about you using their content. So I started a series probably about 18 months ago talking about the Sue Neal-Fraser case, which is a massive, massive miscarriage of justice in Australia. She was convicted of ending the life of her former partner who went missing off their yacht. The problem was there was no evidence, the body was never found, and prosecution actually misled the jury with stunts like they showed a photo of the dinghy that was used to go back and forth from the yacht, and they showed a photo of the dinghy after it had been sprayed with luminol. And they gave the impression to the jury that the luminol, the big stain that they saw on this picture from the luminol, indicated that there'd been blood in the boat. But it had been tested and there was never any signs of blood found. Not only that, luminol reacts to itself. So if you overspray with luminol, it's going to react. And that's exactly what happened with this dinghy, with the Sue Neal-Fraser case. You can actually see it in the court documents where the forensic scientist says, yeah, it wasn't really showing, so I sprayed it again. And they showed this picture to the jurors as evidence that Sue did it. Look, there's blood in the dinghy. Total BS. They also pulled out a wrench. Now, they have no idea what happened to Bob. They have no idea how he died. But they pulled out a giant wrench in the trial and claimed that Sue probably hit him with something like this. Like, oh my gosh. They were allowed, and her lawyer was so ineffective that he didn't challenge a lot of these things. So, you know, major miscarriage of justice. And I started covering that case. But the problem was a lot of the media stuff came from mainstream media, and they were hitting me with copyright claims over it. So it was too hard to cover the case. I tried contacting there was a documentary, like a I don't know, 3 or 4, 5-part documentary. And I tried contacting Eve Ash, who was the person who did the documentary. But the problem was she didn't have the rights to the documentary. Channel 7 had the rights. So even though I contacted her, she couldn't give me permission to use her content. Yeah, Bonza, I think there's possibly a few Australian cases, not just that one, but I think there's a few where they've basically cleared off to the United States and never been caught. David Milgaard, another miscarriage of justice. There's so many miscarriage of justice cases out there. Bob's family think differently, so do I, Ninchi. Sorry to me, she's as guilty as hell. Yeah, Celia, have you listened to the podcast? There's a few podcasts. There's one that Eve Ash did that's quite compelling. I would really, really love to be able to get hold of the actual interview tapes of Sue Neal-Fraser, not just the little excerpts that have been played here and there, but the actual interview tapes. But I think, to me, I think there's a lot of compelling evidence. And when you have a witness whose DNA is found on that boat and who admits to have been on that boat with two of her colleagues who are known criminals, and when you have someone like a Triffett, of all the people that they could possibly use as a witness, I mean, the Triffetts are so well known as basically serious criminals, and they used his witness account to bury her. Yes, you've covered the case. Interesting. I'd be very interested in having a look at what you've done there in terms of your perspective and stuff like that, because I think it's always good to see all the different sides to things. I mean, I think that what was presented in the podcast certainly seems to convince me of Sue's innocence. From reading through, I got hold of the court transcripts. From reading through them, I think there's so much there that makes me think that at the very least it should have been a mistrial, because there was so much wrong with the way that was done. But anyway, I will leave it at that because it is getting on a bit, and I was going to wrap this up like 10 minutes ago, but I do love looking into different cases. Sorry, jotting down another one. Yeah, things like Stockton Beach, Beaumont, they're all sort of part of the Australian ethos. Like, it's, something we all know about, but they're ones that I'd really like to actually dig into and find out some real facts. Thomas Soto case. Big news in Western Canada, painted law enforcement as fools for miscarriage of justice. Another interesting one. Yeah, I do need to do more lives. My biggest struggle at the moment is just trying to get up early enough of a morning to go live in time. It was good going live last night because obviously, it was after dinner, there was no pressure. But it seems like with all the rain we've had, with the cold weather, it just seems to have really hit me hard in terms of I'm struggling to get up early enough at the moment to do these live streams. I would like to get back to a routine with them. Hopefully I can. Today's much more sunny, so maybe if I get outside and get a bit of sunlight into me, maybe that'll help me reset my body clock. I will try and aim to do another live tomorrow morning. I'll try to even schedule a live for tomorrow morning. But I'm going to finish at that. So if you haven't hit the like, please hit the like on the way out. That helps me out. And if you're someone listening on replay, please leave a comment, because also the more comments that you get, the more comments I get in my live streams, in my videos, the more that helps me out. Yeah, I think I do need to get some like vitamin D into me or something. I think usually winter's not so dark and dreary here, and I think it's just catching up with me. Anyway, thanks guys, and I will catch you in the next one.